All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. And Lottie comes sliding into home base right in time to join us for the start of the show. Hey, welcome to episode 463 of the KissFAQ podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. We are live today. I've got Marcus Almighty Mark.
Greetings.
The aforementioned St. Louis Kiss, Lonnie.
What's up?
And the voice of reason, 69th Blizzard.
Voice of reason. Hello.
Hey, you got your
voice of reason today.
You got your audio issues fixed. 23 seconds on the count.
That was quick.
Like, oh shit, my audio's not working. So we've got a few topics to talk about today. I just want to say hello to Wales. Where's Drago?
There he is.
Good to see you. Diacon Var. That's the only Welsh I know. That's all right. Now we got that out of the way. Let's keep going. Adam in North Carolina. What's up, everyone? Bill Phelps. Hey, guys. Space Ace Ron was in the house early. So thank you for joining us live. Everyone, wherever you are, chime in with your comments because we know there's going to be some comments on today's show. I've already talked about or mentioned the topics that we're going to be covering here. Straight out of the bat, I got to pimp something. It's out. It's done. Volume 2 up on Amazon now. Had so much drama with the cover. Got it sorted out. Finally managed to work the original cover. That was previously used on the Atlanta 2017 hardcover. So was able to get it all sorted out again so that it was usable for this. And yeah, Eric Carr is photoshopped with his arm raised into the back. But, you know, that's kind of what I wanted. Wanted a Bruce cover. Couldn't get it. Can't always have what you want. But unlike Magic, if you want this, you can at least have it because it's in the stores. Yeah, Mike Shoop, Dan on guitar. Thanks for joining us. So, you know, as we go through today's topic, we want to start off with Ken's 40th anniversary. I threw 3 bootlegs out of the 3 shows that you went. One was shit quality, absolutely unlistenable. That was San Francisco. Universal City really sounded like it was a really fun gig. Did that pick up kind of the excitement and the vibe? And when you think back to 40 years ago, what was do you remember having a favorite show of the 3 that you attended? So for anyone who doesn't know Ken, he's going to tell you about his Creature's Adventure.
Yes.
It will. So, yes, 40 years ago, I saw Kiss 3 times. So the first time was in Irvine, the amphitheater there, and I guess it's in Inglewood, technically. Irvine Amphitheater, and that's probably the most exciting because I was experiencing the Tank for the very first time and seeing the whole, the treads and the whole thing and the cannon and so on. So it was kind of a real cool experiencing that for the first time. And then the next time out.
Well, actually, what was your first impression? What was your first impression of the Ank Wank on the Tank?
Did you know he was going to be there?
I think I knew based on a picture that something was wrong. Like, did Ace changed his makeup or something like that? And I'm not even sure if I knew it by that time because it was end of the tour. It's possible that I did know something by that was March and April, and there might have been some things in the publications about Vinnie Vincent. So I might have known, but I didn't really know. It's just kind of like up in the air kind of thing. And we were thinking, well, maybe Ace will be there. Maybe he's coming back. I don't know. Because it didn't really, they kind of said he was just going to be, gone for a while and he was going to come back. It's kind of the same thing as what they do now where they say these other guys are going to be on the stage, but they never, they never come and join them on stage. Yeah. So from that standpoint, I didn't know, but it was cool. I mean, watching him, so a guy can, obviously play guitar and some of the stuff, though, to me, it was partly botching the solos because you're so used to hearing the Ace solos. Sometimes he got it semi-close, and sometimes it was way different.
Yeah, I got a question, Ken.
Yeah,
one that was been kind of lingering in my head for a long while. You saw the Dynasty tour as well, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so this is what I was curious about.
Mm-hmm.
Having seen Dynasty, when you went and saw this tour, what was your reaction? Were you kind of disappointed in the scope of it, like how it's been a little bit scaled down compared to the grandiose of the Dynasty thing? How was your reaction to that?
No, because Dynasty was all glitzy and Vegas-y kind of thing, which was cool. Which is cool. It was fine. It was super Kiss, the capes and the colors and everything. But this was like another level, like turning it up and just coming, for your throats kind of thing. And really, really more aggressive in the music and the performance on stage, and along with the tank and everything.
Well, was the venue smaller than it was for Dynasty?
Yeah, I'd say it was smaller because I saw them at the Cow Palace in San Francisco. I don't know how much. It's not a huge arena or anything. It's not huge, but it may be
15,000.
Yeah. Oh, is it 15,000? So I guess so. And I don't know how much Irvine Amphitheater had, or how big that was, but it wasn't sold out. I don't think so, because they had a hard time selling any tickets on the Creatures of the Night tour. So yeah, from a standpoint, it wasn't I didn't really compare them. I knew they were kind of two different things. There's two different stages, two different types, I guess the costumes were different and everything. Mm-hmm. It was just more, I don't want to say dirty, but it was more a hungry Kiss. It seemed hungry on that. Yeah. Versus Dynasty, I think they were kind of just, enjoying their success at that point, and partially maybe phoning it in to a degree.
Yeah. So from the bootlegs, was there a favorite show? Obviously, was there one of those performances, Lonnie, other than the Cow Palace one being garbage? Was there any show that grabbed you particularly that you would have loved to have attended just from the sound of the bootleg?
Oh, you're talking about the San Francisco Civic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Lonnie?
I don't know. I mean, not necessarily from the shows, but just listening to the three different ones and then listening to what we got on Creatures and just in general. I've mentioned on the show many times how I was insanely jealous of Ken being able to see 3 Creatures shows. And listening to those this week and listening to what we got on Creatures just reiterates that fact. And I don't think there's a particular one in general that I wish I was at. I just wish I would have saw that incarnate, that version of the band. Very much so.
Yep. No, that was my takeaway. The Universal Amphitheater show sounded the best, but I wouldn't care which show I was at. If, had I been able to see a Creature show, I would have loved to have seen a Creature show. Mark?
Yeah, I really liked the Universal Amphitheater show. I thought that one was really, out of all the ones I heard, and including even the early soundboards that leaked from Creatures, I found that they were much more gelled at this point. They were very much together. Even Vinny's solos, that they didn't seem to bother me nearly as much on the Universal Amphitheater show. It seemed like he had it more together. He kind of knew what he was doing. He wasn't. I didn't find that he was kind of guessing or kind of just going off the cuff as much. I think he kind of had them a bit more mapped out. And the show overall I thought was really smooth. I mean, I even liked Eric Carr's drum solo was really good in this one. It, like I said, when you compare it to the early ones, it seemed like they were trying to find their footing still at that beginning of those shows. So, but this one was really good. It was, and even though it was an audience recording, which I usually poo-poo like crazy, it was still pretty listenable. I'm a big soundboard guy, so, but it was decent sounding though.
Yeah, I'm going to truncate this conversation on that because, from the bootlegs, only one is really listenable for this conversation. And we've gone through the Creatures tour stuff. So I want to go from 3 shows to 4. Kiss just announced 4 more dates on their Kiss 50 tour. So it's become 54-50. They added dates in Detroit, which is righteous because you can't close things out without a final visit to Detroit. They added St. Louis, Nashville, and Dickies in Texas. Is that Fort Worth or Austin? I can't remember where that one is.
Fort Worth.
Yeah. Lonnie, obviously St. Louis is the only one that hits home for us. How's your rage level today?
My rage level's fine. Thanks for asking. I'm glad. I'm actually really glad that I was hesitant in pulling the trigger on buying tickets a couple weeks ago when they went on sale. And even just so much as the other day, I was looking at Chicago, I was looking at Indy, and I'm like, these prices aren't bad. I'm like, oh, we could think about. I could think about doing this, thinking about doing it, and then this morning that hit, and I was like, oh wow, and I was like, well, and my first inclination is, well, it's October. Shoot, there's a good chance I'm out of town that weekend in October, and then it's on a Wednesday night, so I'm like, oh, it's perfect. So, text my brother, and I told him, October 25th. Enterprise Center in St. Louis, and he's like, we're there. I'm like, all right, what? I go, for like the 10th time, one more time, we're gonna do this. So, but I think that it really will have a sense of finale to it that night, knowing that these 2 dates in New York have been announced as the final dates of the end of the road tour. I think it really will have a sense of, I know we've gone to a lot of Kiss shows thinking this could be the last time, but I really think it'll have a sense of closure that, this is really it. And it's pretty cool because I'm going to go with my brother who introduced me to the band, who took me to my first Kiss show. And it's actually going to be in the same building that I saw my first Kiss show at. So it's really kind of a bookend of a huge chapter of my life, and I think it'll be very fitting, and it really will. I mean, like I said, I've seen them multiple times, thinking this could be it, but it really will have a sense of completion that night.
Yeah, I was struck by the bookend that you mentioned about same arena, going with your brother. And that's really what these shows have come about, about those sorts of memory, more so than any of the band drama. We're going to talk about the Ace interview. I do want to just cover, quick thoughts on a couple of other topics before we do dive in there, because that's going to be a rabbit hole. Ace covered obviously a whole lot of ground during that interview. Mark, have you bought any tickets yet?
No.
Are you still on the fence?
I am still sort of on the fence, but I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, I'm kind of have the same mentality as a few other people on here have. Like, for example, where's Drago, which is, by the way, a good buddy of mine as well. How you doing, dude? What he put here is saying, I'm standing firm, not getting tickets for the UK shows that are coming up. I had a blast in 2019, saw the final show in Glasgow, and it ended on a high note for me. I'm kind of like that as well, where I did see them when I saw them last time. I really enjoyed myself, and I'm leery about going now and maybe having that ruined. But like I said, I do have a couple friends that have access to maybe a box, so it's still possible that I might end up going. I'm not saying no 100%, but if I miss it, I'm not gonna cry, because I've seen them numerous times as well throughout the 2000s and was pretty happy. And I saw them in '96 when they came like 3 times on that tour, so I was pretty excited when they reformed again at that time.
Mark, you're talking about something that's 26 years ago. Come on.
Yeah, but still, I mean, look at it. Is it really the same thing now? I mean, when I saw them back then, they were playing. They were still, Paul was still doing his, singing, and there was no tapes or shit like that anymore going on. So, I mean, if I miss it, I miss it. But look, chances are I'll probably end up going because I have a feeling that he's going to come through with that box. So.
Yeah, Madison Square Garden, December the 2nd, got down to 2 original tickets left. Then they released more seats and it went up to 27. I'm counting dots. Thank you, Nibs. And now it's down to like I think 18 or something. And of course, a lot of the tickets are reseller tickets. I mean, I've got one for each show on reseller at less than what I bought for them just to get rid of them because I upgraded to floor and now I see what the floor tickets are going for. Supply and demand, dynamic pricing is market manipulation. So welcome to the reality of Ticketmaster 2023. It is what it is. And again, Ken, no shows announced near you. So I'm not even going to ask you, but I will let you get started with the Spinning Gold interview with Joyce Bogart and Tim Bogart. Well, Joyce Bogart Tribulus and Tim Bogart on Three Sides of the Coin this week. Did you have a chance to watch that interview? Because I was actually very impressed by it.
Yeah, I did watch it. It was pretty good. There's some interesting tidbits in there, and it was nice hearing or seeing, Joyce actually do an interview because that never happens. So that was really cool, and I like all the different little things that I didn't know about. For instance, Peter Criss, falling off the bag, and she has, because he passed out from the smoke and getting, telling him, you got to wake up and play the encore. You guys got an encore, and Gene Simmons' mother, calling and making sure that he has a sweater, that sort of thing is just hilarious to me. And I'm sure it's a lot of really cool stories. And they talk about, and you probably go into it, but, it's about the early pyrotechnics stuff, the flash paper stuff and the other things that went on there that we know about. A lot of it we know about, but there was a few cool things there that came out of it. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, there were some errors as well, which I'll talk about as we go. As we go. I've even got multimedia queued up to prove my point.
Yes.
But Lisa nailed it for me at the end because it is, I believe, International Women's Month, and for her to draw attention to the role that Joyce was playing as the co-manager of an act in 1973 to I think early 75 is when she sold out her share of Rocksteady Management. Really was. She was an innovator, and she's not someone who's really been given a lot of industry recognition for the role that she played. And she's partnered with Bill Aucoin, and he's dead. So we get that firsthand voice from that period. We've heard a lot of the stories. Go back and read Nothing to Lose. Go back and see her interview segments in Beyond the Makeup, or whatever that documentary was called in the early 2000s. And so it's not like she's been completely silent. The Nothing to Lose is very complete, but it does keep some stories out of it that don't skew with Gene and Paul's version of the narrative now. Lonnie, what did you kind of take out of that? Because it seemed that Tim couldn't get a word in sideways.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I have not had a chance to watch it yet this week. I've
been busy.
Been a little busy. I am seeing the movie on Saturday, so I'm excited about that.
You're a Kiss fan.
Wow.
Wow.
I have not listened to it yet. It's Thursday. It came out Tuesday. Pardon the hell out of me.
Where are you seeing Spinning Gold? Because it's not playing anywhere totally convenient for me.
Really?
In San Francisco. On my regular cinema that I would go to, it's not playing it. It's south of Market, which I'd rather get my toenails plucked with a hammer. than go
at a
down there.
mall 15 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
I gotta go. I don't. I think it. Unfortunately, I think it'll be similar to my Detroit Rock City viewing experience there, where I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of people in the theater besides me, because it's not. I'm not seeing a lot of press for it at all.
I heard nothing here.
So
Victor Willis did his part today, or was it yesterday, when he took shots at it for leaving out the Village People. So got a little bit of press, and it was on 3 sides.
I saw a TV commercial for it. Believe it or not.
Did you really?
I think it was on ESPN. I think it was on ESPN,
really?
Or something like that. Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
Just once.
All right, Mark. Did you watch the interview?
I got nothing.
Yeah, actually, I did watch it. Are you surprised that I did? That I actually?
I am surprised because I posted it on the FAQ and everyone was like, "I'm not watching them." You're my favorite podcast, and we appreciate
that other podcast.
Everything that you guys say about us, but it was. I thought it was worthwhile watching, whether or not you like a podcast.
Like, look I'm not a big watcher of the podcast, but whenever you have like a guest that I'm interested in, then obviously I will tune in and check it out. And this was something that I was interested in because I was interested in the history of it, with Joyce and Bill starting it out. And, they made us, by the end of the interview, we knew what the name of that show was because they mentioned it about a half a dozen times. Flip side, flip side, flip side, flip side. They were, hammering it home what the show was. And that's fine. I mean, that was the start of everything, right?
Wouldn't you love to see an episode of Flipside now that they've said it so many times?
Yeah, I'm sure.
They had John Lennon on Flipside.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm just saying that it was interesting, an interesting watch because, like we were talking about before we even started, like you said, there were some inaccuracies, and I'm not going to take the air out of your balloon. I'm not going to mention what it is. I'll let you talk about that. But there were some interesting points in there that seemed to contradict some stuff that we should know about Kiss history. And I found that kind of disturbing in one sense because, if you're going to go and watch this film that's supposed to document the history of this label, if the people who were involved in it don't have the right information, how good is this thing going to be, or how accurate is it going to be? I mean, come on. I mean, if the people there can't get it right, then we're going to be in trouble here. But, I'm not going to jump to conclusions yet. And I'm going to leave those little parts that were inaccurate for Julian to let him talk about it.
I didn't take notes, to be perfectly honest, but what they did.
There's one for sure,
There is one, and I'm going to be playing some multimedia in a moment. And for those folks who are watching, what were the things that jumped out as factually wrong or seemed awkward, or what are your comments? Because this show, when we do it live, is as much about the participants in the comments fields as it is about us, because we do love to pick up on what you're talking or what you're thinking as well. So my issue is the whole Beth story. It seems you're not going to make 3 syllables of Lydia ever fit with Beck. The melody is not structured around it. Mark can chime in if I'm wrong, but I think it would take one hell of a lyricist to be able to get that one to blend with it. And saying that the song was ever called Lydia is factually wrong. It was written, and I've spoken with Doc Penridge about this, so firsthand information from one of the co-writers, that it was written about Mike Brand's wife, Becky, which is why it was called Beck in 1971. And it may have been pitched, or actually, I don't think it was one of the songs that was pitched to Neil when they tried to get a deal with Buddha or whatever label he was with at the time. But I want to play that demo in case you've never heard it and have been living under a rock for the last 30 years. This demo has been out forever. Here's Beck. copyright dings coming in fast and furious. Oh, we lost half our audience. Yeah, so that is Beck. That is Peter and Lips. I think Michael Benbenga's playing on that on bass. Stan Penridge on guitars. Peter Criss on percussion and vocals. The melody lines all there. Yeah, there's some Bob Ezrin magic that went, but it wouldn't take a rocket scientist to transpose that onto piano. It's not like Bob Ezrin did anything spectacular. He probably helped with the lyrics, to refine it and took it to the next level. And he certainly, Mark will not even deny that he elevated that about as far as that very simple song could be taken. Is that a fair statement, Mark? Please say yes.
Well, yeah. I'd say it is. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna. No matter how much of my love of Bob Ezrin, would make me kind of say no, but he obviously did take that song from, very basic demo to a grandiose, superstar single that the song became.
Yeah, and yeah, it took Ezrin to make it magical and to make it the hit that took Kiss from rock stars to superstars. Lonnie,
real quick, just listening to that, I had to pull up the track listing for Destroyer 45th anniversary. I'm like, that was not on there, and it is such a shame that is not on there, because it is such a telling part of that album, of how where that song came from, and how that song was massaged and made into the version that became such a huge hit for the band. And here's the definitive version of Destroyer, everything you could ever want. Oh, except one of our, if not our most popular song ever's original demo.
Still a sore spot.
They didn't want to pay for it.
They don't.
Yeah, they don't own that.
Well, and I get it, Ken. It's rent, so why would they want to pay for it?
Because if they want to use it, they got to pay for it.
I agree. Then pay for it.
Yeah, but that would mean, some issues.
I know. We're going down a certain road that we don't like to go.
Well, no, business becomes more complex than it, might seem to have to be for us as fans. But there you go. Someone probably just heard that for the very first time, and that's cool. That's cool as fuck to me. That someone will have just heard that for the very first time. And
sure.
I want to go back up the Ken. While I find the comment I wanted to go back to, what do you think of that? Can you imagine it being sung as Lydia, I hear you calling?
No. I think the Lydia thing is just kind of thought of as an afterthought back and said, when they were promoting it and saying, well, actually, I wrote that, for Lydia, but we had to change it. It was just kind of the narrative back then. It's really for my wife that, the song is dedicated to, or something like that. I think that's something, how they were spinning it back then.
I think the sentiment's absolutely correct. It's about a song to someone who you can't get back to. What does it matter if it's someone else's wife, unless it's you trying to get back to someone else's wife?
Well, that's another story. Yeah.
But then again, that's still the same sentiment. So, I don't think that trying to inject that part into it. I think when you then combine the two stories, clearly that stuff that was mentioned was, creative license. And I thought it was fascinating about the story about Neil Bogart's first wife, Elizabeth Weiss, whose nickname was Beth, who was getting divorced. They divorced in September 1975, and Neil didn't marry Joyce until I think May of 76. So it does, again, fit into the story. And Joyce had, of course, sold out her her share of Rocksteady. It has been suggested by some of those, Kenny Kerner, that she was passing information to Neil Bogart, which is what ended up resulted in them getting shit canned as Casablanca's house producer. So there's much more to the story and bias and angles that come into it. Mark.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, that whole interview with them, because the one thing, and look, I think I know enough about Kiss history to talk about this sort of stuff. But again, some of the stuff, do we really know the ins and outs of it? I'm curious, for example, about the part where they were talking about that they mentioned that it wasn't Kiss that saved Casablanca. They said it was the disco stuff that saved Casablanca Records. Now, from what I've always read, they were always saying that Live was the thing that saved Casablanca Records from going under, but they were talking hard and heavy about the fact that no, it was the disco stuff that took Casablanca out from the depths of the debt there. I mean, is that another inaccuracy?
No, and I think Joyce mentioned it absolutely how I perceive it. And again, I wasn't there. I was wearing diapers and smearing food over tables at that point. That the three Parliament, Donna Summer, and Kiss all started hitting around the same time. So out of famine came a feast of success. Don't forget, Donna Summer had been on Oasis Records in '75 for the first album that come directly from Munich. So Parliament had a super strong regional following, much like Kiss and Aerosmith in their early days. They were very regional based. I want to go through some of these other comments. Where's Drago? Can an unreleased demo be copyrighted? Absolutely. The moment you basically create something, you own copyright on it. However, official recognition and getting the certificate comes in very handy, as I well know from my experience. Where was the other one? I'm just going back to these. So we've kind of covered this. They took where's I go again? They took things out of linear history in order to make the movie work, artistic license. So it may be a little bit uncomfortable for those of us who always look for errors, but I'm going to go in and if I find a cinema and watch that movie as a story, as Tim has suggested is the right way to handle it, because he had to shift things around to make it work as a story. So I'll give the artist his leeway on that. I don't know how to say your name, Terj. Going back to the Bob Kulick thing, that was clearly wrong. And I posted a funny thing that I dug up from a 1976 Circus magazine where Bob Ezrin states in '76 that he'd gotten paid for doing work on Alive as well. And that was just me being a dick because I happened to just find that.
That's
going
crazy.
back through some more of these comments. Yeah, we're going to get to Ace, guys. We are, I promise you, that is very much next up. But it wasn't Paul that vetoed it. It was Alex that vetoed Peter using the block, and they did do extensive rehearsals with the wood block, and God, it did not work as well as the demo. So it was the right idea to, shit can that. All right, let's keep going. Anyone else with any final comments on?
The only other thing is, I read something recently about the Beth too, and Lydia did contribute one of the lyrics in there, one of the lines. So, and they used it. So, and maybe there's some confusion about Lydia, that it was written for Lydia, but she was kind of semi-involved because she actually contributed a line in the song.
Yeah. And I'm not going to take anything away from Lydia. She wrote Peter's note for the Alive inner cover, because his handwriting wasn't as nice as, that was for use in that manner. Did you see that those were getting sold in auction?
Yes.
I did.
They got pulled. So.
Well, they did.
Yeah, they got yanked. It'd be interesting to see if there's a story on that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
That's too funny.
I know. You want me to write you one, Charles. I know.
Yep. And of course, where's Drago? This guy knows a lot about Casablanca, by the way.
Yes.
All right. So let's get to the Ace thing.
Yes.
You're right. Absolutely. That's. I was watching Chris Czynszak posted a bunch of crib notes about what Ace was saying in his interview on Eddie Trunk yesterday. And I think, first of all, I would like to say this. I'm really glad Ace called Paul out for that bullshit piss comment.
Yeah.
I think anything that Paul does to denigrate the originals and the originals lineup is unacceptable. That is the music that is being played and copied by Tommy nearly note for note, and Eric somewhat to this day.
Mhm.
It is the core of the band's music. It took those 4 original misfits together to create the magic that we're still celebrating today. So Paul has taken shots at Ace and Peter for a good decade, and they've got more and more kind of vicious. So finally, someone has responded. Initial thoughts, Lonnie?
I think it's great for Ace taking a shot back for taking that jab in the face and counter punching. He went off the rails several times in that interview, and Eddie kept trying to reel him back in a little bit, and then he would, and then he'd go off on a tangent a little bit, and Eddie'd bring him back in. But Gene and Paul get a lot more press and do a lot more interviews than Ace Frehley does. And Ace got in front of a microphone with a national audience on satellite radio and was able to counterpunch a little bit back to Gene and Paul. And, and good for him. When someone talks bad about me or someone says something about me that I don't like, well,
you have Joe Adele beat him up.
Well, because he's twice my size, and I don't. My boss tells me all the time, we don't take shit from anybody, and good for Ace, because Ace isn't going to take shit from anybody either. So, and to Julian's point too, it's just an old act. It's an old, tired act of every chance we get to minimize what Ace and Peter meant to the success of the band, and it's just old. And people and Kiss fans see through that, and most Kiss fans roll their eyes like, okay, here we go again with the same stories. So it was great to see Ace just counterpunch back. Ace did go off the rails. Ace said some stuff that I was like, whoa, what the hell are you talking about? But it was great for Ace to counterpunch. And, come on. He said in 7 days, if I don't get a public apology from Paul Stanley, I'm going to come back here on Eddie Trunk. Well, don't be holding your breath the next 7 days for an apology from Paul Stanley. So we'll wait and see what happens. But, lawyers may step in between now and 7 days as well.
Well, Ace, I'm glad punched back, because it's a little bit like Chris Rock and Mr. Jiggy. Chris Rock waited and then went full postal. Unfortunately, Chris Rock made some of the same mistakes that Ace made with some of his misogyny and calling Jada bitch repeatedly. Really took away from his comments. Let's go there. Because Ace dropped an anti-Semitic trope about Gene's business acumen being related to his background or him going to Hasidic yeshiva, and then throwing in dreadlocks and then ending with, I hope I didn't offend anyone. And that, unfortunately, is just one of those anti-Semitic tropes. I've called him out on the FAQ. I'm calling him out here. That needs an apology. That's simply not acceptable. I know some of the tiki torch burners disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine. Everyone do what's right for you. But I thought that was unfortunate because it really took away from a lot of what else he was saying throughout there, where he was sticking up for himself and Peter, and also making it very clear that he'll do anything for a buck. It's all about the money. He made that clear.
A lot of money. Yeah.
Deep pockets.
Well, yeah. That was tough to, kind of listen to. He just kind of, when he went off the rails. But it all started, and I don't know how this got back to, someone must have told Ace about the piss comment from Paul. And I don't know why even Paul said it, because you know what? it's a, to me, it's also taking a stab at the Kiss fans, the Kiss fans from the original lineup, saying something like that. It's the same thing as when they, feeling you get when they say on Kiss Unmasked, I still say they stink. I don't get it. I don't get them putting a middle finger on the back of a Kiss Army jacket, or even in the concert of Revenge where they do the middle finger thing. So I just don't understand what the point is, and Paul, he just can't stop denigrating the original, guys, Ace and Peter. And if Gene was in the band, he'd probably take a shot at him too. Though John, again, Gene's also guilty of saying the stuff about drugs and stuff and so on, and alcoholism. But I do think Ace was on the right track for a while with asking for an apology. Though I don't know if he'll get an apology unless maybe there is something in this manuscript that he says 100 that Paul is worried about, that Paul maybe is like, oh, wait a minute, he might actually say something,
Oh, please.
and then what is this manuscript? I don't know.
Please don't tell me you believe
what
that.
entails. That he has a manuscript? I
Please
think he may have.
he
may have a notebook.
He most certainly will have the dirt that certain band members do not want out.
He knows stuff.
But he doesn't have a 120-page manuscript. Okay, the guy can hardly write 10 pages, let alone 120.
Deposit box, he said.
It doesn't take 10 pages to take a story that's got 10 words.
He didn't write List of No Regrets anyway. I mean, he's telling stories, and it's someone transposing it for him. But I 100% believe that there were things in the original version of No Regrets, and they said, no, we're not going to put that in there. We don't want to get sued. We're not going to put that in there.
Okay.
So I guarantee there's stuff out there.
Look, the thing with when I listen to it, I agree with the point that he's been knocked around quite a bit throughout the years by Paul and Gene, and obviously it's just only natural someone's going to come back and or he's going to come back and retaliate on it, which makes sense to me. But the problem with Ace is that he did a good thing. He took care of himself. He got out what he wanted to say. But then after that, the man doesn't know when to shut up. That's the whole problem with Ace. He doesn't know when to zip that mouth of his and get back to some normal discussions and stuff. He could have talked about his record a bit more. He could have talked about but he went out down these insane discussion points like the whole Jeff Beck thing made me laugh. Jeff Beck is a lot like me. You're not anywhere like Jeff Beck. You don't even have 1/10 the skill level.
Dude. I love Ace. I love Kiss, but he's a couple floors down.
Yeah, you don't have 1/10 the skill level of Jeff Beck. Okay, and that's absolutely ridiculous that he would say shit like that on there. Look, I love Ace too, and people are going to say, "Oh, this guy doesn't like Ace," but I do like Ace. But it's just when people say stuff like this, it's just absolutely unbelievable. Like the money thing, I understand that he wants to be paid properly to go in there, but the man just kept going on and a big amount of money, a bucket load of money. Okay, we got the point, dude. I mean, and lots of people in the comment section here have said it too. When Eddie Trunk starts getting uncomfortable with him on his own show, that the man's getting off the rails a bit here. Okay, like he's his biggest supporter, and even he was trying to cut him off and say, "Okay, it's time to go, Ace," and he still kept going on with stuff. It's like, God, man, like what you hear? He's just digging a bigger hole, and I can already see Paul and Gene like rubbing their hands in anticipation. Wow, he's really digging a big hole for himself in this interview, because he is. I mean, any way you look at it, the guy comes across looking a little after that interview,
Well, how do they respond? Because I've always felt that feeding Paul's negativity, and I'm going to focus on Paul in particular, is a waste of time, because that's what a bully wants. He wants you to go down to his level in the sewer, because then he's won. He's gotten you to respond. And yeah, all these continuous jabs at the originals are tiresome. But I do feel strongly that even giving Paul oxygen for them are just pointless. They were never going to have Ace and Peter there for the last show. Look, Ace has not had a proper contact. A proper contact means that Doc McGee gets on the phone with an offer for them, and that's a starting point. Ace, 100,000 to come up on stage at Madison Square Garden or whatever. I mean, it doesn't sound like that'll do for Ace because he wants a trunk full of money. You know, it's embarrassing to now get back into this back and forth between these guys because there is a no win. I know people love a train wreck. I know people love to rubberneck, you know, when you go by an ambulance or something. Ooh, what's going on over there? It's human nature. But, you know, it's Eddie could have done a better job. And for him to have the audacity to say all members are welcome to come on my show. Eddie, no one's going to go on your fucking show. Paul Stanley is not going to go on Eddie Trunk. I mean, you're outside the aura. It's done. You don't get back in.
And Paul won't allow Gene to get on the show too, because remember there was that time Gene was going to be on the show, and something happened, and Paul told him, no, you're not going on that show. The other thing that bothers me too is, you know, I was thinking, you know, I miss the old days where they just played the music and rocked, and they didn't say all this. They didn't talk. They just played the music, kept their mouth shut, and talked. Anything that was a bad comment, they wouldn't say it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was a long time ago now.
Wasn't 96 through 2000 really nice?
It started changing, right?
Yeah, you know what?
The golden years.
Can I just say one thing?
Golden Girls.
They had 4 years apiece.
I just want to say one thing here, though. Being in a situation where I was in a band that had different members in it before, and I came in and replaced people. Sure, it's not the same situation as Kiss. We were not anywhere near the level of it. But what I do kind of understand, and I'm not making excuses for Paul or for Gene, but you got to, from one point of view that I see here, when you see Ace saying comments like, you know, Tommy Thayer, it doesn't have 1/5 of the talent that I do. The magic all came from me. He can't do what I do on stage. Clearly that's wrong, because he's doing what you're doing and much better, to be honest, in my opinion, on stage.
He's done it consistently for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, when you says stuff like that, you know, Paul and those guys get pissed off too, because he's downplaying their brand of the Kiss now. And of course he wants that brand to succeed as well. So on one hand, I understand why he might get a little perturbed by that. But don't get me wrong, I understand why Ace is pissed off, because he got hammered a lot about the drinking and the drugs and all that stuff as well. So I can see where both of them are doing things to make each other pissed off. So it's almost like one isn't much better than the other in some aspects, you know?
Yeah, so I thought Eddie could have done a better job with that interview, because Ace did give some very interesting information about his solo album. You know, Pepe Castro, Blues Magoo, or whatever the band was, I can't remember now. But Steve Brown, Trickster, who fills in for Viv Campbell and Def Leppard. That is actually promising. And writing with Tommy Denander, who wrote for Hollywood Vampires, Live to Win. He did some work as well. He's a really cool guy, which is even better. So, you know, he should have delved into some of those topics. You know, for Ace to say that it's nearly done, and then to say, well, you know, 4 songs are still instrumentals. I can't decide which ones I'll throw some vocals on. Just it's so Ace, which is what I love about him. You know, but there is new music coming, and there was a comment that flew, and I do appreciate all these comments which are flying by today. You know, thank you for your engagement on this, which is very cool. Ace's speech. I've known many alcoholics and recovering alcoholics who've destroyed their speech and end up sounding slurred for the rest of their life, even though they are stone cold sober. So just because someone may sound like they have, you know, drunken slur does not mean that they are drunk. And it's very important to differentiate that, because I think Ace's sobriety is something to be applauded, you know, And I just wish, and that's why I do wish that they would stop calling, Peter and Ace names by their past sins, because we can look at Gene and Paul have sins as well. Addictions to power, control, money, and not having to share it with other members on that level are, not necessarily as destructive as self-abuse, but they are not exactly positive traits either in, a band environment. So, it's a complex situation with that. Lonnie, does that interview make you more excited about an album?
More excited about an album? No.
I
mean,
wow.
I don't
know.
It doesn't make me more excited about an Ace album.
Good press for the PR cycle for an album.
Sorry.
It's not an origin album, at least.
Well, no, that's true. I that is true. I was excited when they reiterated the fact that it's not another cover album. There's a cover song on it, but it's not another cover album. I mean, does the interview? I mean, he went on some tangents about, I've been shot and stabbed. I punched Tommy Thayer out, but it's because I'm a tough guy. And it's like, okay, but I agree though that maybe if they would have tried to refocus or tried to shift at certain points and let's talk about the album. Is there a title of the album? Can you give us a song title? Can I think things like that might have made me a little more excited for them. Did it really make me excited for them? I don't know, not really, because we really just kind of scratched the surface of it a little bit, and then we go off on a tangent and compare ourselves to Jeff Beck or call ourselves a tough guy or talk about silly safes and things like that. So
I'm always going to look at my vault now.
I got one right there.
You two will never look at your vaults the same.
My silly safe.
No, my best photo comes from the silly safe experience with Ace, because he was there and put his arm around me, got that fantastic photo. So I'll always have my silly safe experience memories with Ace now. But I'm sorry, I'm not drunk. I just can't speak today. Did Eddie egg Ace on? That's actually tough to say. Mark, do you think Eddie did a good job with him, or was he just off kilter?
I don't think he egged him on. I just think though that he didn't do a good job in directing him away from where the trouble spots were. Just like Lonnie said, I think that if he really started getting uncomfortable, and he was obviously uncomfortable in sections of that interview, he should have did exactly what Lonnie just said. He should have said, well, Ace, let's get back to the album. What's the title of the album? Just like Lonnie said, let's talk about the song titles. What's the direction? What is this album going to sound like? Will it sound, he said it's going to be better than his 78 solo album. He said that on there, which is like, okay, well, we'll see about that.
That's things he's done since Destroyer.
Yeah, but
we've heard that before.
But you know what? I would have rather have him talked about why he thinks it's going to be that way than him talking about the Hasidic Jew thing and all those other things. At least I'd rather let him talk about that. That I think is Mr. Trunk's fault. He should have directed it. He's the guy who does the interview. Julian, you've done lots of interviews yourself. I'm sure that if you were in charge of that, you would have probably tried to steer it in different ways as well to get out of that, discussion. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So why he didn't do that? And somebody up here posted that in Eddie's defense, he was only expecting to do a 10-minute interview with them. Well, what does that say about Eddie's control of his show? If he was only expecting to do 10 minutes with him and he let it balloon to 40 minutes, then clearly he's not in very good control of his show.
When has Ace ever been able to say something in 10 minutes?
Ace even had the time to bring up Vinnie Vincent out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and he was nice.
Yeah,
he was nothing against old women. He said,
"Yeah, nothing against old ladies."
Yeah, but is that a wolf whistle to transphobia? I mean,
I'm
not gonna.
So.
I can't live my life being so politically correct, because I wouldn't be able to keep track of what I'm not allowed to make fun of or be offended of. But I didn't take that way.
And the fight with the thing about the punch of Tommy Thayer is like, yeah, I sucker punched Tommy Thayer. It's probably what it was.
Yeah, but and then there you go.
He
He tried
punched
to.
him out, is what he said.
But there
Yeah,
you go.
Ace
He tries to
sucker
belittle
punched
him as well. Not only did Ace did that with he got me my sandwiches, but Peter Chris did that too, saying that Tommy Thayer used to get me my plate of spaghetti all the time. Like,
Yeah.
what
So
is
what is Ace more mad at? Is he more mad at piss, or is he mad at not getting paid? Because I thought it was a line of absolute cobblers, and someone did mention this in the chat, in the comments, that Ace didn't treat Richie Scarlett very well, firing him at a pretty bad time, and I believe he owed John Regan, what, 70,000 was it? And how many
Yeah.
other people have given him things? So it seemed to be pot kettle black from a financial point of view, that there seemed to be a lot of anger that call has not come, that the 50-50 dates are announced, and there's no sign of it happening. I mean, I think we said it at the beginning of The End of the Road, that it would be something that they would dangle like a carrot to keep us going to the shows throughout the tour, not realizing that the tour was going to take so long because of a pandemic.
Yeah. Now, is that comment correct about the shows both being sold out? Because I think somebody said that they weren't sold out.
What, Madison Square Garden?
Yeah.
It's most certainly not sold out. You can go on Ticketmaster right now and buy tickets directly from Ticketmaster, not resellers.
There you go.
Ace is back in 77. That's when it was sold out.
And it's because of me that they're being sold out, because people are expecting him.
How many times have they been to the New York area over the last 5 years? So, I mean, 2 nights at Madison Square Garden, they'll sell out. And, I don't doubt they'll be absolutely packed, but some of those ticket prices, resellers are going to take a bath on. Let's get back to some of these comments. Because, Mark Arnold, that is, Eddie and Ace are buddies. Eddie knows Ace is going to be good for his ratings, but Eddie also knows Ace well enough that his alarm should have been going off.
Yeah.
His radar was lacking yesterday. I mean, part of being a good interviewer is not letting your interviewee walk into that territory on the air. It's not like you're recording a podcast episode where you can edit shit out after the fact before it goes on the air. You're live, and you got to be full battle station. So let's go back to some of these.
Yeah. Exactly.
You mentioned her.
It's crazy.
You said
my
crazy.
crazy girlfriend to San Diego.
My crazy ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
But where do we go from here? What do you think is going to be Paul and or Gene or KISS organization's response to this, Lonnie?
It might.
I think there'll be a rebuttal. I don't think there will be a public apology from Paul Stanley about a comment he made on the Howard Stern show referencing the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was almost 9 years ago at this point. I don't think Paul is who Paul is, and I 1000% do not see Paul making a public apology. Oh, I'm sorry, Ace Frehley. I shouldn't have said that. That's not going to happen. At the same time, I don't know if I really see Ace coming back on Eddie Trunk next Wednesday, but
he should.
Who knows? Why not? Why not? Maybe he gets Peter to come on next Wednesday.
No, I'm pretty sure that Ace will be back on Eddie Trunk next week in damage control mode.
Oh, really?
He'll be apologizing probably for some of the comments he made.
Ace, you're welcome to come on this podcast.
I'm
sure Mike Brun would have you as well if you don't want to come on this one.
Well, I think that the smartest thing for Paul and Gene to do would be to say nothing. And of course, that's not going to happen. But I think that it would be the wisest thing to do, because it'll just make him look, like the nut. And them not saying anything will just make it appear like they're trying to take the high road and just stay away from the comments. But Gene, he can't resist. He'll probably put something on Twitter in response to it or something. I can kind of see that. I mean, isn't that his preferred way of responding to Twitter?
Who, Gene?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's still blocking me.
Yeah, I think he's still on Twitter. He
I
puts
don't know.
stuff
Gene
out there.
mentioned today about going back to Dubai, Ken.
Oh,
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
I saw that. It's like, why is he even mentioning Dubai? Is he like
He says
purposely
South America,
sticking
Europe,
it to
Canada,
us?
Australia, Dubai, and USA. Here we come.
They're not
One
going.
last
I don't
time.
think they're going back to Dubai.
In
It's not on their
cities we
schedule.
missed. In cities we missed? I don't think so.
Get ready for another platinum package deal there.
August and October, or August and September, pardon me, are open. I don't care if they add dates. Add as many dates as you want, guys. Anywhere
I
yeah,
had to buy,
you can add
buy
it.
new T-shirts. So
that'll still sell. Where you can still sell. So it doesn't matter to me. But Ken, what do you think happens with Ace?
What do I think happens with Ace?
Yeah, what's Ace's next play?
He may come back. He may. I mean, on the Trunk show, he may, make an apology and then hopefully just talk about his record only. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think Paul's gonna obviously, say sorry. So I don't think Ace is gonna bring any dirt out, because maybe behind the scenes he may get threatened about some other stuff from the Kiss camp side of things. So I just think he might try to lay low also and just let it, try to make it. Hopefully it goes away, with time, that sort of thing.
As they say.
Yeah. But we'll wait. We'll wait 7 days. Well, it's not 7 days anymore, but less than a week, and we'll see if anything happens in that time period.
You said Dubai, Ken.
Maybe Dubai. Well, maybe Ace can go to Dubai. I don't know.
Maybe Ace knows the real reason why Dubai never came out. Share that information, Ace. Inquiring minds would love to know that.
Ken would love to know that.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't really care.
I would love to know.
I would like Ace to go back on there and at least apologize for the anti-Semitism. I don't think he needs to roll any of his other anger back. He did come across as kind of clueless, of thinking he's getting, Kiss better have deep pockets. No. I mean, what do they need you for, Ace, on the final show? There's 27 tickets left. I'm pretty sure they're going to sell out by December the 2nd, so it's not like there's a need. That need has never been required. Would I love Peter to get up there at the last show on his own, no makeup, come out on stage, yo, this is New York, and give us one more Beth? Hell yes. Would I love for Ace to come out and give us one last smoking guitar solo? And then we have a kumbaya moment, and all 6 originals. Bruce comes running down the aisle. Don't forget me, guys. And they launch into Rock and Roll All Night, and the end, curtains draw, and all that. Life doesn't work out that way, and it just ain't gonna. This is a good one. The scars are so deep already, so I guess I hope he delivers some dirt. Yeah, but I also wonder about what dirt anyone's got on him. Once you start throwing stones, you suddenly find out that you're living in a glass house, and you're like, oh shit, should not have. Where's the self-destruct button on that torpedo? It's too late. So I guess we're gonna find out next week. In the next episode of These Are the Days of Our Lives, we'll find out. Did Ace do it? Did Ace not do it? How did Paul Stanley react? Tune into fucking TMZ. It's all going to end up on there now, which is the worst way for you to end your artistic career, as fodder on TMZ. All right.
Next week, same fact channel, same fact time, and all that stuff.
Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts, Mark? What's going on with your album?
Oh, well, we are about 22 days away from the release of my new Project Gemini album. Thank you to everybody who's supported the first single that came out, Cyber Wonderland. It's done really good, much better than I thought it was going to do, actually. And I'm very grateful for that. There is an interview up now that I did with the Progressive Palaver that you can check out about the new album as well. Also, there's an interview with the Pottered in Hell guys that I did in response to the release of the vinyl of Book 3 that we went through stuff. So there's a lot of stuff you can catch up on if you're interested in the Project Gemini end of things. And yeah, there might be another single that'll drop before the album comes out as well. And I'm sure there's going to be some more podcast appearances. I'm going to talk about the album. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge there. So yeah, so we'll I'm sure we'll be I'll be around the internet, so to speak.
All right, Lonnie, any closing thoughts?
No. Looking forward to the final 54 shows, I guess, and getting tickets to see Kiss one more time. It's exciting. Yeah. You know, I was pretty fired up. I had talked on the show several times that I kind of had some closure about, you know, that I'd seen him for the last time, and to get that opportunity 4 years later, one more time, it's actually pretty cool. So I'm excited about it.
Ken?
Just that I'm glad I'm alive. No, I mean,
glad you're alive.
Going back to, I know
what's going on.
Well, if you listen to the Universal show, I hopefully you did. You get towards the end where they Paul says, "Come on down to the front, you guys." And I was one of the people that got out to the front because I was like third row in front. And then he's saying, and then you hear Paul saying, "Whoa, take one step back. We don't want you guys today's person to be tomorrow's baloney," or whatever he said. And I said, yeah, because I remember getting crushed. I thought, okay, this is the end right here. I'm going to end. It's going to end at a Kiss. I'm going to die at a Kiss concert. Well, die happy, right? But because he says, okay, everyone take one step back. And then,
okay, so that's what that was. Okay.
That's what that was about. So anyway, so yeah, I'm alive. Thankfully.
That happens a lot.
So thank you everyone for joining us today. Thanks for all the comments that chimed in. Come on over to the FAQ, join in the conversations there. But this is going to go for a little bit. But for now, just listen to the fucking music and forget about the people who made it, because at the end of the day, I think it's probably the music that brought most of us together in the first place. So for now, from Lonnie, from Mark, Ken, and myself, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.
Silly safe.